Yo, what's up, guys? Honey Alice with you here, bringing you Sword Art Online Season 3, Episode 10 anime review. This anime was very, very lit. It came to the point where it was so good of a battle episode that they had that disclaimer in the beginning about sexual content and violation of violence and stuff like that. You know, that warning that we usually see in dangerous anime or TV shows. We saw that, and I was kind of scared when I saw that because I saw the sexual thing, and I'm like, what's gonna be so sexual about this episode? And then later on I get to that, but basically it's nighttime and Kirito and Yujiro are waiting for their trainees to come back from cleaning, but they're late and they've never been late before. So Kirito jumps out the window and he goes look for them, and then Yujiro is just gonna wait in the room for them if they come back. Unfortunately, the trainee from last episode, the one who was their Teresa and Rainy's friend, the one who was being sexually, I guess you could say, assaulted or abused by Herbert, she comes in crying, and she tells them that Rina and Tessina had left earlier to confront Rhinos and Humbert, and Kirito starts going to their door, and he starts banging and banging, and he's banging for a good while. I'm sorry, I meant Yujiro. Yujiro is banging on their door, not Kirito, my fault. And when Kirito is looking for them, and Yujiro is doing that, he's banging, he gets no replies, and he punches his door out of anger, and then he hears them say, "Oh, you can come in," and he's like, okay. So he comes in, and they are shit-faced drunk, and the room smells like complete booze. And they say, "Hey, we opened a bottle that's over 50 years old, that's very rare. Since you're a commoner and you're never going to taste this, want to try some?" You know, they were mocking him as always, and he was like, "No." And he explains to them, "I'm looking for my trainee, me and Kirito. Have you seen them?" And they're, "Oh yeah, we've seen them." And they didn't deny it, and then they took him to the room next door, which is still part of their inner chamber. And when they went to that room, you see a nice big bedroom, and both the chicks are there, tied up. Their hands behind their back, a white cloth on their bottom, face for them to not talk or scream, and their legs are tied to their back arms. So it's weird how they had to tie them up. And Yujiro gets super upset. And basically the blonde hair guy, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, Vias, basically he said they broke a law. They didn't break a school law, but they broke an imperial law. They have the school law, an imperial law, and a royalty law. And basically he was giving them a punishment of his choice, because he's a higher royalty than them, a punishment of his choosing. And then he jumps on the girls, and he started taking her, slowly licking her and taking off her stuff, and the other guy started doing it. So, he got in his battle stance, of course, seeing this. And then he points at him and he tells him to stop. And his body just shivers down and freezes. And we learn that, this is also another law that he cannot break. Besides the Temple Index, you also have the other laws, which they cannot be broken either. So he couldn't really do nothing. And he's seeing them, and they taking their time. It's not like they rushing and whatever. And he's building up anger and stuff. And then we get this weird scene with his eye again. Like we've seen in the first episode. His eye, it turns into this weird red with some numbers. And a code pops up. And he's able to move again. So with that, he swings his sword at the head of Vias. But Vias is quickly, he got good reflex, so he's able to duck. But his friend Huckenberg get hit. And Humbert, when he get hit, not his head get hit like it was supposed to, but his arm got cut off. And he's bleeding. And he's going to his friend, "Hey, Vias, hear me, blah, blah, blah." And Vias is completely ignoring him. And he's like, "Oh, wow, I get to execute you now, a commoner that's in our way." So he goes up to this nice big, sword stance. Well, not a sword stance, but it's the racket where you put swords at. He has one really big one that carries two big swords. And he takes out one sword, and it looks like a really powerful knight sword. It looks like something that Berserk would carry. It's pretty cool. of course, he's royalty, so he has the money to get things like that. And he takes that sword and he swings down to hit Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh! Is frozen again. And his eyes close after that cold break thing that he did once, and it's bleeding. And when he's about to go for that finishing blow, and the sword is like right here, and he pauses in slow motion, Kirito swipes under and just blocks it. And then as you see in the thumbnail, we have their fight. Which their fight was, I wouldn't say it's the best fight in Sword Art Online, because it wasn't really a fight, it was more of a clash. But it was pretty dark and epic, and I would have to say this is like the darkest and saddest episode so far of not just the third season of SAO, but SAO period. This is like the time when Asuna got captured and she was being like abused in front of Kirito, and remember he had to break that system. Or this is kind of similar, but for some reason Kirito was able to move freely with no laws holding him back, and he kind of struggled a little bit against Arias, but he was able to parry him off and cut off both his arms with one slash. And Reyes dies, and that white face looking guy just looks like a human. Not a human, but looks like an alien almost. From the first episode when the sky opened up when they broke the Tambu Index, where it seems every time you break it he shows up and he collects data on it. And then he gives those data to the knights to come in and arrest you. That's basically how things work. And basically they both got arrested. And the teacher had to give them over to the knight. But before she gave them over, she gave them a nice speech. She told Kirito, even though I didn't really get the chance to know you, go to the tower and make something great of yourself. And when it came to Yu-Gi-Oh, she told him, you have shown great promise and you have done something that I couldn't even do. So that means you can probably reach the place that I couldn't reach and go farther. And she gave them encouraging words and stuff. And that's when we get the end of the chapter, the end of the episode. The knight who came to take them away, the integration I believe they call them, was Alice. And I was like, what? And that's when the episode ends, and I'm like, oh. It felt so short, but it was so good of an episode. But at the same time, it worries me, because it's like, Alice is now a knight. And Yu-Gi-Oh remember her, and Kirito, but it doesn't look like she remembers them. So did they mess with her memory and turn her into a knight for breaking the law? Is that one of the punishment maybe? Maybe indoctrination if you break the law and you become one of them? That's what I was thinking. Maybe it's that. Cause I don't read the light novel or the manga, so I'm an anime only, so I don't know. So please don't spoil this, people. Or it could also be maybe, this is someone else that looks like Alice, but it's not Alice. Or maybe when you break the law, they kill you, but they use your body and they reanimate you into like a new being. I mean, it could be either or. I mean, this is SAO and this is like a virtual world, so anything really can possibly happen. But I just can't wait for next week. But yeah, this was a good episode. Episode 10 of Sword Art Online Season 3. If you haven't watched it, I urge you to read it. Watch it. If you're going to watch it again. But that's all I have for you guys today. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Please leave your thoughts and comments below. Your opinions, what you thought of this episode, and what you think is going to happen, and why Alice is back, and she doesn't remember them. Also, follow me on Twitter. The link will be down below. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.